Hey, everybody. Good evening and welcome to another session of the Let's Talk Show by Interlingua. As usual, I am Mike Reese and I'm very glad to have you here. Be sure to follow us right now because tonight's topic it's pretty much kind of like a heavy topic. I'll tell you in a minute why. We will cover the topic of, you know, being together with being in a relationship with a person, living with that person, making a family, sometimes being legally married, sometimes just existing, just living with each other and being at peace. So, my task for you is the following. Be sure to put in the comments what is your situation. Do you believe in marriage? Are you against it? Would you get married? And if you wouldn't, would you live with someone else? Is it the same for you to live with a person for a really long time, let's say years, and not being legally linked? What are the differences? Because pretty much I have sometimes heard of known about relationships that they have been together for quite a long time, and I do mean a long time, like years, almost a decade, and they weren't just like, boyfriend, girlfriend, or even living together. When they decided to get married, somehow the couple separated. Have you heard anything like that? Be sure to put that in the comment section. Without further ado, let's bring out the guests. This should be pretty interesting because one of them is currently married. The other one has built a family, but she's not. She's not actually married. It sounds bad when I say, you'll get the point. You'll get the point. Let's bring out, making sort of his debut in the Let's Talk Show, Irvi. Tonight we have Irvi, and returning triumphantly, we have Danny. Hey!
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Irvi. Hey, Danny. How are you guys? Everything
Hello.
cool?
Everything all right?
Everything doing good.
All right. I'm glad to know that. And thank you so much for being here, creating more content for all of our viewers. So, as I said, let's begin generally, and then I will get to your personal cases. First of all, nowadays, in general, do you think it's necessary to get married, or is marriage something that people should look forward to nowadays? Danny.
Nowadays, it depends. There are some organizations, especially from the government, that are a little bit old-fashioned. So, in order for you to help your partner join certain benefits or be entitled to certain benefits as your partner, you do need to be married. And that's the case of my sister-in-law, for example. She works for UNAM, and in order for her to help her boyfriend, partner, to whom she will have to get married next week or so, they do need a marriage certificate. So they've been living together for like 15 years. They've been together for like 20. And they've never had to be married, legally married, until now, that she's going to help her man get the job at the same governmental institution. So I guess that in cases like that, you do need to get married. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. It has to do also with culture. Things have changed. I think that more and more people are becoming less religious, maybe. So before, religion was more, I don't know, more, I don't want to say important, but kind of. More people were devoted to religion, so it was important. It was something to look up to, wearing a white gown or dress and being married at a church and having a very nice ceremony. And nowadays, I think that's kind of also driving away, which is my case. Like, I don't practice any religion. My husband doesn't either. So we call each other husband and wife because we are a family. We're not legally married, but when we introduce each other, we do it as husband and wife. And we are a family, so we don't have the paper, but we do have the commitment. We have the love for each other, the mutual respect. And I mean, at some point, he suggested the idea of getting married. I have no that would make me feel, what? How do you say that? Like, accomplished, that I have accomplished my role in society and in life. So
Okay,
that's something.
I'll get to that in a while. I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
Now, Irvi, your personal approach
And
to the matter, marriage nowadays. Let's see.
Sure. I think just the same as Daniela. There are some benefits that comes with getting married, like legally getting married, regardless of if you get married through the church or any like religious beliefs. Like if you wanna buy a house or if you want to like merge credits, um, you need to be legally married for that to actually happen. So if you want to, like, for example, buy a house and merge your credit so that you can get a higher amount of credit or a better rate, um, it's definitely a benefit. But other than that, I mean, I don't think it's really necessary. You can do it, but if you're in a situation like Daniela's, for example, I was in that situation, not for so long maybe, but I was in that situation where we were already living together. We have 2 kids as well, and we spent probably 2.5 years living together. So it's a decision we made for ourselves, but not really for any religious beliefs because we are legally married, but we never did like a religious ceremony or anything like that. It's just for legal purposes. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really necessary now these days.
All right, but due to the fact that you guys are experienced in sharing your life with another person, building a home with another person, metaphorically speaking, like I'm not talking about, carrying bricks or making cement or doing the mezcla, you know what I'm saying? Like making a family. Uh, what do you think, or based on your experiences, that people should consider before bonding with another person, before living with another person, before getting married with another person? Daniela.
I think one of the main things is habits, whether the person shares or has some bad habits that you're willing to go by, that you're willing to go, like, okay, it's a bad habit, but I can handle it. I can live with it. Or if the person does something that you cannot put up with, so that you're not willing to accept, and that's not something
Sure.
that you can realize at the beginning of a relationship in general. I think that time has to go by in order for you to find specific things on a person that will make you decide whether you're willing to put up with or not, or not put up with, but accept, because there are different stages in a relationship. And when you're in love, like when you first start going out with a person, everything is wonderful. And yeah, you may see some defects, and you may see, but you're willing to omit them or not see them until you start growing in the relationship, or the relationship starts developing, let's say. And that's when you start noticing, oh, this person does this, and okay. And at that stage, that's when you have to decide whether you can or are willing to accept it, or if it's something that definitely is not for you, right? So I guess that's one of the things that you have to consider. I don't know, maybe whether the person or you are ready to share, because sharing is caring. And when you're in a relationship, you need to learn how to share. And if you never had the habit of sharing, or if nobody ever made you realize that you have to share, when you start or when you are in a relationship, there are things that you have to give up, and there are things you have to give in. And that's also something that you need to consider, in my opinion. I don't know, those are like the two main things that come to my mind right now.
What about you, Irvi? What can you say?
Yeah, I mean, basically the same thing. I think that's the underline for it. At the end of the day, it's two different worlds colliding and meeting each other and trying to live at peace and find like common grounds. So every person is different. Like every mind is their own world, and I think that's more challenging part of it. That you're used to do something on a certain way, and that other person will be used to do the same thing on a different way, and you get to the point where you have to be able to, you know, either give in or ask for the other person to give in on certain things. So the idea of, I don't know, I hear a lot of people saying, you know what, I love you, but I love me more, and I'm not going to stop doing this because of you. And I think to some extent that it's right, but at the same time, being in a relationship means giving in sometimes. Sometimes you have to be the one who says, you know what, I'm just going to do it for the sake of the relationship. I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm going to change the way I'm doing this, because I know eventually down the line, maybe not in a couple months, but maybe in 5 years, 10 years, it will become an issue. So I'm going to maybe change this, or I'm going to be willing to maybe not sacrifice like so, but do little changes that will definitely make a big impact down the road. So definitely what Daniel said is, I mean, you never really get to know somebody until you spend many years living with that person, because there's a lot of things that you don't realize until you're at that stage. So I think that's why a lot of people now these days are, like beginning to live with that person and spending some time together before they decide to marry. Because it used to happen a lot that people were used to getting married and then starting to live together. And then you see a lot of those relationships ending badly, divorce, or not divorced, but not happily married down the road. And that's, I think, part of it. I mean, there's no school for getting married. Nobody teaches you what you have to do. If you get lucky enough to have parents that will guide you and will tell you, you know what, this worked for me, or this did not work for me, or be careful with this, be careful with that. Definitely take the advice. It's a different experience for everybody, but I think that if you have somebody that knows or has been there before, definitely take some of the advice and see whatever works for you.
That's what I'm doing right now. Actually, I'll tell you the truth, because I mean, I've never lived with anyone. I'm pretty much scared to do so, but I know that eventually eventually at will. So I'm taking a little note. Speaking of taking notes, our my next question is not, I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear. It's not to get you in trouble. It's just a bridge to get to your personal experiences, for example. And this is it. Before being with a person you are currently with, did you consider previously, uh, as a part of your life's plan, to live with someone, to build a family with someone, or when your current person arrived to your life, you were like, this is the one? Danny?
Okay, I have a funny kind of story there because
I love funny stories.
because I dated this guy when I was in my 20s, early 20s, or I think even younger. I was probably 19 or 20. And I was madly in love with him. And we worked together for like a year and a half. Well, we went out for about a year and a half until he said, I would like you to be the mother of my children and I would like to marry you. And but I knew I was young and I knew I wanted to do more in my life. And I also knew that that boyfriend, although I loved him very much, was not very good looking. So I thought, if I accept this guy into my life and I have babies with them, and my babies are ugly, I'm not gonna forgive myself. Seriously, I was very young, and that was my thought at the beginning. I was like, I mean, yeah, he's a nice guy, and I love him, but if I have children, I wouldn't like them because I have a funny last name. My last name is Chaparro. So I thought my children are going to have enough suffering with my last name. So on top of that, being ugly is not something that I would be willing to do. So I said no. And I actually ended up breaking up with the guy. I said, I'm sorry, but no, you're not the one, I love you very much. We've been together, but I'm really young and you're not the one. Just as simple as that. And I dated more guys that I never planned to live with or form a family with. But when I met my husband now, I did. It was like he is the one. He's not bad looking. He's not Henry Cavill, of course, but he's not bad looking. And I trust him. He's kind. He has a lot of good qualities. He's a keeper. So I think this guy will make a good dad for my kids. I already had planned to have children. So, and I wanted to have children. I wanted to become a mother before I turned 30. And I met my man when I was 28, and we dated for like 4 months, and then I got pregnant. Not intentionally, like I was planning to have a baby, but not that soon or that early in the relationship.
Sure.
But I was the happiest person alive when I found out I was
Wow.
pregnant. And when I told him, he started crying. He was really happy. He was very excited. We had already talked about becoming parents. Although it was very early in the relationship, we had already talked about it. And some guys would get scared, like when you bring up the topic of having kids and the responsibility it implies. A lot of men will go like, "Whoa, it's been just 4 months. Take it easy. Hold your horses." And that was not the case with him. He was actually very excited. So yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I said, yeah, I would like to, but not with him because he's ugly. And when I met this guy, I was like, yeah, he's the one. And to be
All
honest,
right.
I think my
Uh-huh.
children, I don't think my children are But looking, I mean, I think they're cute, so I think I made the right choice there.
And they're funny. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but the little one just made a
He's
cameo a
right
couple of
behind
seconds
me, of course.
ago.
Now he's making drawings to leave behind mommy. So there's a drawing or a
Oh,
Muslim drawing over there. So yeah.
I love that guy. I love that guy. I'm so happy he's made these little appearances. What about you, Ervi? Was your current life part of a plan, or it just happened?
Yeah, it just happened. I was
Wow.
in a previous relationship as well. I had I have two kids from that relationship before my marriage, and it was, it was one of those relationships that um, I learned a lot about relationships being in that relationship because it was not a really good one. And even though, just like the same process, right? I found out we were gonna have a kid, my daughter, my first daughter. I was super happy whenever I found out that I was gonna be a dad, even though it was not necessarily planned at that time. Just like Daniela's, I said, well, eventually we might get to that point. It got there sooner than expected, but I was really happy to become a dad. And I said, well, I'm young, but I'll definitely have, enough energy and strength to actually deal with a kid. So I think that I can put up with it, and I can put up a fight with a kid. Like not an actual fight, of course,
I get it. I
but
get it.
I mean, sometimes it gets to that point. Um, yeah, I had a kid. My daughter, she is 12 now, and we had some issues. We separated for some time, then we came back together, trying to like try it again. Mostly for my daughter, and that's part of it. Like trying to stay together because of the kids is never the right choice. Because at the end of the day, you end up messing their life and
Mhm.
yours in the process. So it's definitely never a good idea to just stay with that person or stick with that relationship because of kids. Um, and we had a second kid, my son. He's now 10 years. He turned 10 last month. And when he was probably 7, 8 months old, I decided to end the relationship at that point. And I said to myself, you know what? Not be only because I'm finishing or ending this relationship, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop or I'm no longer gonna have a relationship with my kids. So they actually ended up living with me. Um, and I've been taking care of them ever since. Like they do see their mom, and they see her like right now. They see her every other week on a Sunday. So like probably 5 to 6 hours on a Sunday every other week. But they live with me and my wife, and yeah, like I spend many time after that like on by myself around, I would say, what was it? Probably, well, a couple years like outside of relationships. Then I met my wife and we started dating. Um, it was funny because I used to teach martial arts and yeah, just martial arts at an academy. It was a dance academy, and she used to dance at that place, and that's how we met. I was not
Oh,
her teacher or her instructor, but she was taking some other classes at the same place. So we met, we started dating, and eventually I decided that I did wanted a more serious relationship with her. I noticed that she was probably gonna be like a good person for me to be with, a challenging person that I wanted to be with, and would challenge myself to be, like the best version of myself. So I decided to introduce the kids to her. She met them. She was really good from the beginning. They had a really good relationship from the beginning. So little by little, we started, building more of a relationship with them as well. Even though the main relationship was she and I, and me and the kids, like completely separated. But
Of course.
every now and then, we will meet all together so that we can start, seeing if there's any chemistry, if that would be like a decision that not only me but she will be willing to do, like eventually form a family altogether. And I think that it was the hardest decision for her, because at the end of the day, being in a relationship where somebody already has kids, I think it's harder for the person that it's coming to that relationship than
Sure.
for me. Like, of course, it was hard and challenging, and you know how to say it, mi trabajo me costó. Getting married, it,
Yeah.
it definitely took some effort. Um, but yeah, I think it was. I think what made it work eventually is that we both made the decision. She decided that she wanted to share her experiences, her life, and her future with me and the kids. And I
Ah,
decided that I wanted to share my kids and my life experiences with her. So I think that's what made it work so far. But yeah, that's it.
okay, okay. Interesting insights from you guys. Now, I want to get a little bit deeper on your particular situations. Starting with Daniela. Well, you kind of like gave me a little bit of information of what my next question is going to be for you. But right now, I want to know everything.
Fire away. Come on.
In your case, my dear, in your case, you mentioned that you got a lot of things in common with your husband. You have already formed a family. You already you have already lived together for quite a while. Why not getting married at all? The bottom line, why not?
It really hasn't come out as a plan. We haven't had to get married. I mean, it hasn't been necessary, so that's why I don't think we are at that point of doing that. So yeah, that's why not. It's not something that we need to do.
Sure. And you mentioned some similarities that you have with him. And because you also mentioned at the beginning of the transmission that habits are a very important thing to consider before living with someone. Tell me, what are the things that you think bond you or keep you guys together, you and your husband?
I think yes, we have many things in common, but mostly about our history. Uh, we we kind of went on the same path for a long time, but we never crossed paths. Like we attended the same school. Our parents, well, my some of my relatives worked at the same place as his parents. There were so many chances that we could have met, and we never did until we did. So there were so many coincidences. And speaking of habits, I'm a mess. Okay,
Ah,
so I'm a total mess. So he has taught me a lot about being organized, being more disciplined. Uh-huh. I don't know if it's because of the fact that he is 9 years older than me, but I don't know. There were many things. When we met, I was 28. I told you he was already 37, and he had already lived by himself. You know,
Mhm.
so that taught him how to be self-sufficient, how to cook, do laundry, do stuff. Take care of himself. So he didn't really need a wife or a woman to do things for him because he already knew how to do that by him for himself. So that helped a lot, I have to say, because I was never taught, forced, encouraged, invited to do anything. Mommy always did everything for me. So at the beginning of the relationship, it was difficult for him. I have to say that I'm the one who hasn't been an easy one to deal with when it comes to discipline and order. Like keeping things in order. However, I think I'm really good at helping him keep his feet on the ground because he tends to go like, why don't we go to Texas on vacation or to Cancun? And I'm like, why don't we go to Xochimilco? We don't have any money, you know? So I'm the one who helps him like land his thoughts like, no, no, sweetie, we cannot do that. We cannot afford to do that. And I think we are a very good complement because we are different. I mean, yes, we have
Ah,
a lot of things in common, you know, some music. We watch the same TV series. Sometimes he'll watch things that I'm not interested in, to be very honest, like Formula One. He is obsessed with it, and I couldn't care less about it. I mean, I will eventually watch a race, like, okay, nice. Go Checo, go, I guess. But I mean, just to support him, to be with him. But it's not that I like it or that I actually enjoy and keep track of everything that's going on. And he'll do the same sometimes, when I watch basketball games, he'll go like, who's playing? He's kind of showing interest, although he
uh-huh.
doesn't like basketball, but at least he's asking, right? Like, hey, who's playing? Like, okay, let's pretend I'm interested. And I
Oh,
think I think we're a good complement for each other. Um, we know we're different, and we know that we are willing to accept those differences. And I think that's one of the things that has made the relationship successful so far. It's been almost 12 years since we started
woo.
dating. Yeah, so you can do the math. And I guess that's it. Yeah, I mean, my habits were not the best, and when it comes to what I just mentioned, but I think we are a good complement for each other. Yeah, basically.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Danny. Now, Irvi, you are now a married man. What are the changes that you felt drastically from being a boyfriend to now being a husband?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, like I said, we've been living together for 2.5 years now. Um, yeah, or 3 years, something like that, like 2.5 to 3 years. Um, so in matters of like the day by day stuff, nothing really changed.
Okay.
Like right after the wedding, um, we came back to the house. After the next day, we just came back to the same house we've been living in, and after that, we started going back to our jobs, like on a daily basis. Before that, so in that sense, nothing really changed. Um, the dynamics for us hasn't really changed at all, for that matter as well. I'm still working at home. She's still going to the office. I'm the one that mainly takes care of the kids, and I do laundry and I will wash dishes most of the times. Well, no, not anymore. That's a lie. She does the dishes. She does the dishes more than I do now. Um, but in that sense, nothing really changed. Um, but it was funny because I was telling her that everything we did, like starting from that point, was kind of new, even though it was the same thing we were doing before. Like there's this ritual we have with ourselves that whenever any of us has like a really tough day at work or anything, we're like, yeah, you know what? Let's order some food. We're gonna have something to dinner, watch a movie or a TV series while we're eating, and then we can talk about our days or such. I don't know. It's just like something we do. And like right after that, we ordered, I think it was like burgers or something, and we were both eating, and I was thinking to myself like, well, this is the first burger I'm having as a husband. Um, and I was looking at her,
Wow.
and she looked at me and she said, "You know what? This is the first hamburger I'm having as a wife." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was thinking about that as well." And like everything we did or we've been doing after that, even though it's things that we used to do on a regular basis, is like, this is the first time we're doing this as husband and wife, or this is the first time I'm doing this as a husband. So even though nothing changed, everything changed at the same time. It's kind of a new experience, although it's the same thing.
And what has the parental life taught you as a person?
Whew. Many things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Like everything I know, it's because of my kids now. Yeah, it has taught me to be patient. It has taught me to be more compassive, to be a good listener. Um, to realize that I don't know the answer to everything, even though I sometimes pretend that I do. And just be willing to learn from the kids. Like most of the times, they will ask me things or simple things that for me it's like quite simple. Like I don't know why do I feel heat whenever there's fire, and I would go through the explanation on why there's heat or why they see colors or that stuff. But sometimes they will ask like really intricate questions, like, "Hey, Dad, why am I alive?" or "What's my purpose?" or I don't know, things like, "Do you love me? Do you actually care for me? What would you do if I'm missing?" Or something those type of questions that really put you to think. And I think that it really puts your feet to the ground, um, in the matters of sometimes it's hard when you have a lot of friends that don't have kids. And I have like a lot of friends that travel all the time. Like everything they do is work and travel. That's it. But at the same time, they live with their parents. They don't really have like much responsibilities, and
Oh.
everything they earn from their jobs is just for them. Like they don't really like put anything at their parents' house, for example. And sometimes it's like, damn, they're in. I don't know. He's in Brazil right now. I wish I was there instead of sweeping the floors of my house because my kid ran into the house with mud in his shoes.
Oh.
Um, and it happens a lot. Um, but then I don't know, like you stop and realize that, yeah, but you know what? I'm living by myself. I have a house. I have my wife. I have two kids. I have a dog. Like that whole suburb life.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
I'm missing is my shorts and white socks all the way to my shin so that I can start cutting the grass. That's all I'm missing. Um, But yeah, definitely learning to be more patient. Um, I think that's like the main thing I'm getting out of my kids, like being more patient. Right now, like I said, my daughter, she's 12, so she's at that age. Um, they have their own rooms, and she basically goes out of her room just to eat and to say good night. And she says good night like dude, she was the nicest little girl ever. Like she would say I love you 20 times a day. And now when I go at night and say, you know what, hey, I love you, she's like, good night. I'm like, yeah, but I love you. Yeah, I know. Good night. And I
Oh,
have to push her to actually say good. I love you, and she's like, I love you as well. And every time I
Dad.
take them, yeah, exactly. And every time I take them to school, like in the morning, I usually hug them before I send them off to school. And
Okay.
she's like, yeah, can I go now? And I'm like, yeah, just go.
Okay. Just final question, guys, to wrap this up and to just finally let loose. Things that you and your respective partners do together, and if there are still things that you keep to yourself, what are they, Vanny?
Stuff we do together, what you do with family, you go out, you visit family. Sometimes when I used to get together with my friends, which I haven't done in a while because of a pandemic, uh,
Okay.
he would join me. We would leave the kids to with my in-laws or with my mom, and he and I would sometimes go by ourselves, or we had to join the clan with the kids. We like to watch TV together. Like we like to talk about movies. We like to talk about series. Also, we what else do we do together? Oh, we listen to podcasts together sometimes. I mean, we like to listen to one in particular together. Like we go like it's podcast day. So yeah, we'll do that
Oh.
together as well. And we talk a lot. We talk a lot. We really have long conversations. And the other question was things that I keep to myself. Well,
Yes.
I keep a lot to myself, a lot, because I'm a woman, and especially when I'm upset, I'll keep stuff to myself. I prefer not to speak before I think. I think
Okay.
I'm very careful of not saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment. So I think that's what I keep to myself, like my thoughts when I'm upset. And he's the other way around. He will speak before he thinks if he gets upset. But but yeah, I think that that's one of the things. Or sometimes, certain things that he might have said or the way he might have done something that I didn't really like or didn't really feel it was okay, I'll keep to myself for some time, and then when I think it's appropriate, I will say it, but not immediately. I do keep it to myself for some time. I mean, not years, not months, but yeah, I don't always speak my mind immediately. So yeah, I think that's one of the things.
All right. What about you, Irby? What are things that you and your wife do together, and do you keep some things to yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always things that you would keep to yourself, not only not out of selfishness, but I think that or sometimes things that you like to do by yourself, or things that you like to do and your partner doesn't really like or enjoy doing them.
Mhm.
Um, so things that we do together is, I think that I agree with Daniela. Like all of she said, um, We like to talk about movies, watch TV shows. Like I don't usually, or we don't really like sometimes the show that the other one is watching, but we will endure it. Like I've been enduring for the past couple weeks watching Sex and the City. Um,
Endure.
yeah, like I mean, we've seen the entire seasons, the first movie, and we've been seeing the second movie. So yeah, I've been enduring that. I don't like it, but I endure it. I know she likes it, and it's funny because eventually, even though I don't like it, we're just sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like Carrie. Like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know this guy, and I don't know what this guy just said, and I would have said this, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it becomes something that we share. Um, but like something I usually do, like by myself, for example, is I like bouldering or rock climbing or mountaineering,
Oh,
hiking, that kind of stuff.
sure.
She doesn't really like that. So whenever I go out to, I don't know, to climb a volcano or things like that, I usually go by myself. Um, and that's like things that I do like on my own. But she kind of gives away at some point because she doesn't really like doing like all that workout, outdoor stuff. But she likes going camping when we're going together. Um, and sometimes she's like, "Yeah, let's go now glamping because we already did camping with you." Because I'm like, if we go camping, it's like 100% camping. Like we're gonna do the bonfire. I'm gonna cook in the bonfire. We're gonna sleep in the tent, like right on the floor, like that kind of camping. And she endorses that because she knows I like it. So yeah, it's just giving away at some point some things.
All right, guys. This has been extremely useful for all of our viewers and for myself. Like I said, I've been taking notes. Thank you so much for all the information that you told me and told us, the viewers. Be sure to comment in the section. What are your thoughts about today's show? Are you currently in a relationship where you live together, or are you planning to do so? Everything you can just share it with us. The Let's Talk community. Ervi, thanks a lot. Danny, thank you so much for returning. And well,
Thank you.
have a good evening. No, you are always welcome here. Always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And well, that's it for today. Ervi, Daniela were our guests. I am Mike. Eric Rios was in the controls. Without further ado, I must bid you adieu. Goodbye and good night.